Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for another movie review. Uh Continuing on with the Father's Day movie review month. We'll be apparently I'm doing like at least two Adam Sandler movies, but in this one I'll be going with the next Netflix film The Week of, starring Adam Sandler and Chris Rock. And uh I discovered this movie at least because this movie came out in like 2018. Uh, I'm pretty sure. I mean, the time has been weird because, like, the whole 2020 uh, has been like a whole thing. But I, I think it's fair to say maybe like I discovered it in 2020 during the lockdown period, but don't quote me on that because I seen this movie like at least several times. Like, is of course Adam Sandler's track record of filmography by this point in time has been like not all over the place, but it's like a earlier section of his filmography has been like stellar work. Then there's been a stint where it's just like, you know, in like the middle of like, like let's say start from around like '06 leading to '07 up until the point of uh when that movie he came out with that he won like an award of something about diamonds. He was like a jeweler or something like that. I blanking on the doggone name. Hold on. Uh, Uncut Gems. Yeah. So up until like 2019. So yeah. Yeah. So it's fair to say like yeah. Well, in between that time, it's like funny people, grown ups. Uh, Just Go With It was pretty hard. I did like a review of Just Go With It in like February for the month of Valentine's Day. So yeah, I mean like you know, Rain Over Me. Some people like it. I pronounce you Chuck and Larry. That uh, it's so. It's mad at best. People love You Don't Mess With the Zohan. I haven't seen that in years. Not many people like bedtime stories. I thought it was cute. Funny people, like people rave about funny people. Grown Ups was pretty well received, but the sequel kind of sucked. Uh, like I said, Just Go With It was pretty dope. Jack and Jill is easily the far like really ranks high as far as like the most horrific Adam Sandler movie in his filmography. Then of course you got Hotel Transylvania. That was pretty good. So it was a sequel, but Hotel Transylvania 3 is rough. Uh, the Ridiculous Six pretty bad. Pixels horrendous. Blended, very mixed. Uh, uh, Hubie Halloween, like I tried checking it out in 2020 around Halloween. I could not get past the first act. It was like, ugh. Hustle, very recently has been like, from what I heard, it's like exceptional work. Murder Mystery, that was pretty dope. I, watched that at least a couple of times. That was pretty fun. So, yeah, I mean, his work, is, by and large, he's great. But it's always been like a few stuff that's been like, yeah. But anyway, the week of us, it, critically, has been, you know, on the low end scale as far as like Adam Sandler movies go. People criticize about like Chris Rock's performance. Feel like most of them at least both of them seem like they're like phoning in to a certain degree. At least Chris Rock's, some people's view on Chris Rock's performance has been like phoned in to a certain degree. Uh, I can see in certain spots, but like it never, it hasn't been like a bug. It doesn't bug me to uh their degree. I think he still did like what the film required of him. And it's the dynamic between him and Adam Sandler and like Steve Buscemi. And these are like, they're friends. They've been, working with each other since like the 80s. It's like into the early 90s, especially during like SNL days. Like, these guys know how to bounce off each other. And their chemistry is always like fun to see. Uh, Basically, Adam Sandler plays this contractor named Kenny Lustig. Chris Rock plays this, heart surgeon named Kirby Cortis. Their Adam Sandler's daughter, uh, played by named Sarah, played by Allison Strong, is getting married to Kirby's son. Uh, uh, shoot. Tyler. Yeah, Tyler. His son Tyler is played by. Is he not on the? There you go. Yeah, I guess he only had this. His name is Roland Buck the Third, but I guess he haven't done. I guess maybe this is only like work, acting work. But yeah, they're getting married, and this is like a week before the wedding. But the way that one, like certain people side of, like, the parents on one side of the family doesn't seem like they haven't met before. Like how quickly these guys, got together, and what was the relationship like? Because between the daughter and the son, because it make it seem like they're getting married pretty fast. Like, okay, at some point they gotta had to get meet up, and then there's gotta be like a period of time where they had to like get to know each other, date and hang out, and eventually things get so serious where like eventually, especially like around like holidays and stuff like that, you know the parents, at the very least the parents have to meet each other at a certain point. And like there's certain scenes where Kenny's wife, uh, played by Rachel Dratch, who called, it's very funny moments where she's just like calling up, you know, the parents, especially the, you know, uh, uh, blank on the son's name again, Tyler, Tyler's father, Dr. Kirby, about asking about all these like medical questions. Like, I heard they get like salmonella, like like in the canes being recalled by the salmonella. It's my bad, very bad Long Island voice. Like really Long Island kind of talk. It's like I can't do it right. I'm not very good at like certain accents. I'm doing my best, but but he's in the middle of a heart surgery, and he's sitting there getting like asked 50 million questions. And then like another scene where she's, it's 4 a.m. and calling the mom now, and she like, I was seeing Kirby long since divorced, and she has this like young Latin boy toy basically, who's like a horny hound dog, and it's like kissing on her elbow. It's like, is that his kink? Like, why are you like kissing on? Calm down, boy. Like, Jesus, eh, uh, but I'm at least glad he, because some Adam Sandler films, especially like back in the day, like typically lean into like certain racial stereotypes. And I'm glad, because in the past, handful of years, you know, a lot of complaints about certain Adam Sandler films as to he doing the same kind of gimmicks that was funny in like 80s, 90s, early 2000s, but it's just like he hasn't like, you know, some people believe, I think like it's fair to say, like he hasn't evolved beyond that style of comedy, as like the rest of us, that was funny in like, our college and high school years, and that stuff was, even to this day, it's still pretty doggone funny because it's like done pretty well, like Billy Madison and Mr. Deeds and stuff like that. There's a certain gimmicks that's like very very funny, that was of the time, but it's just like we grew out of that, but Adam Sandler stayed stagnant until like at least by the time Uncut Gems comes out and he really started stuff as an actor, so that he's, can do things beyond his typical comedy style, which was great. I never seen Uncut Gems. It's fair to say that I probably will never see it. I'm pretty sure there's certain films that everybody else saw that got rave reviews that a few people probably don't really care to see, because maybe it's because the overhypeness, or maybe because it doesn't seem like your cup of tea and you don't really care. Like 1917, another film everybody raves about. I personally haven't seen it. Eventually I'll see Top Gun Maverick. I don't think I will see it in the theaters, even though it's kind of a movie that you probably should see in the theaters. But I'll probably, and same thing with Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'll probably wait until it's streaming, and then I'll see it then. And just like with the movie Split, one of my earliest movie reviews up on the channel, which you can check out, youtube.com/talkativecarl, is like one of those movies that like I did wish I would have gone to the movie to see, but at the end of the day, it's not going to hurt. Matters none. And same thing with Top Gun Maverick and Everywhere All at Once movie. It's like, I'll probably be just as fine seeing it on streaming, but it's just one of those movies you just like pick and choose whether or not it's like, okay, I'm probably getting that same feeling with the Lightyear movie that's coming out, this weekend, where initially they're like, yeah, I probably want to see it in the theater, but it's not like one of those movies where it's like, I want to avoid all spoilers like Doctor Strange 2 or Spider-Man No Way Home. It's not that big of a scale of like avoid spoilers at all cost kind of thing. It's one of those movies that I still intrigued to see, but at the same time, I really don't care for like spoilers like that for a film that that it's kind of like like Chip and Dale movie that is on streaming on Disney Plus. It's like I didn't really mind the spoilers because I'm still going to see it, and it's like it's like a fun watch. But back to the film. Uh, uh, Mr. Luckstick, he's like scrambling, trying to get everything together. And it's like, as I was watching this, because I had to make sure I watched it twice, mostly because it was fun to watch. It's like a fun, feel good kind of movie. But because last week I did a review for Steve Martin's films, Father of the Bride, and I could see certain parallels from what I seen in that movie until I see in this movie, when like two fathers are dealing with organizing weddings for their daughters, and how Kenny's way of handling things compared to how Steve Martin's character was handling things. Now, difference being this from two different decades, and this is like a 2018 film compared to a film set in 1991. But unlike these fathers, one is like hesitant on like because he didn't approve of like, or at least initially he didn't approve of the wedding, and like feel like he's losing his daughter, and like uh and like because I made my complaints about certain like storytelling when it comes to that daughter in that in Father of the Bride. You can check out my full rant about that, but it's like, well, see, my rant about that is because it seems because it was fully explained that these two couples met in Rome, only had 3 months with each other before like this dude just proposed, and she just jumped on it without like considering, okay, yeah, you love each other now. You only in that, it's still like the honeymoon phase, and and then she's like all like covered up next to him, like rubbing her nose, like, oh, he's so sweet, like, oh. And it's like this one. It's never established how long uh, Kenny and Kirby's kids have been around each other. But given the fact that how like the future son-in-law is like interacting with Kenny, seems like, oh, they got along pretty well. It seems like, hey, they're so comfortable around each other. It's fair to say at least a good year or two. And the son-in-law seems very comfortable, and like going to Kenny for like issues, like, oh, there's a problem with like this and that and the other going on with the wedding, and it's like, hey, like, I got it, don't worry. The relationship seems very solid. We don't see that with Steve Martin's character in Follow the Bride, because it seems like he doing everything in his power to lessen the interaction between this guy. Even though he's thinking the guy is a nice dude, but it's like, it's like, this is my daughter, and it's like, whatever. It's like, but that's no good marker of like a father. It's like, I want to make sure that because I know certain people want to avoid certain traditions or breaking traditions that male patriarchy, blah 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 blah, but typically it is like the father's of the bride's duty to make sure that provide like the wedding of his daughter's dream, and make sure everything runs smoothly. Now, both fathers in both films are trying to do this on a budget, but I gotta give Father of the Bride this, at least somewhat the daughter puts in like some like her perspective, at least somewhat. Because like she want to leave like like they at the wedding planner, and they're looking at this monstrosity of a cake that costs like $1,200, probably $3,000 by today's standards. But you see like the wedding cake in this film where it seems cool and modest. But like I said, both of them trying to do on the cheap, but this daughter doesn't seem like, well, certain shots seems like she's like involved in some way, but you get to see her friends, unlike Follow the Bride, you see like, you don't see like, where are the friends of the bride and groom? Like, there's nobody helping with like planning or the reception, because you see the friends here, but there's one in particular, the bridesmaid that's like very like it's hard for me to label like like a title to this chick, the way she's or at least an adjective, because she seems super engaged in like the affairs, like oh my god, we're gonna come out to Billy Joel's song, and we're gonna be like dope and like dancing, and it's like she seems like very in your face. It's like she kind of reminds me of Catherine Hahn in Bad Moms, another movie I reviewed for like the month of Mother's Day, you can check out. And it's like she will look like the daughter of her, the way she's carrying on. Like she look like a Catherine Hahn kind of daughter. Uh, the way she's like bombastic and like you know kind of like edgy and raunchy. Like she seems like she belongs in a raunchy college movie or something like that. And I I'm not gonna say like I don't care for her, but it's like you take her out because he seems like the daughter has to have some wacky friends, or she has to have something to feel like some comedic stuff without leaving it on the shoulders of just Adam Sandler and Chris Rock. But she doesn't seem like she focus here. Doesn't seem like she's the jokes doesn't seem like it's landing with her. Uh, uh, but then you got like also like this weird kid, this boy next door thing that's kind of like not nerdy, but just like one of those stereotypical introverts. It's kind of like a kid that she met at camp one day, and they probably kissed one time, and he's kind of hung up on her because you literally got like bunch of pictures that they took together that's like all over his like bedroom, and he's obviously obsessed, but thankfully not like bad characters. No bad character in this, but it seems like typically in most other films he would be like trying to ruin their wedding because he's super obsessed with her, but no, he's thankfully like just like he kept to himself, but it's like he's still kind of hung up on her, and but he's obviously trying to insert himself into things, but he still feels bad that she's marrying somebody else because clearly Kirby's kid Tyler, very handsome kid, but compared to like Steve Martin's future son-in-law, I don't know. These two, like I think Kirby's kid Tyler has more of a presence compared to the son-in-law and father of the bride, but it's just by a little bit. But it's just he seems more likable though. He's like I love the interactions between the bride and groom. It seems very fluid. The chemistry seems very there, and why wouldn't it be? Like the kid's pretty handsome, and like clearly like Allison loves doing scenes with this guy. Uh, I don't know if like these two probably it doesn't always happen, but it wouldn't be too far fetched to find out if these two actually dated outside the film. The way these two got along pretty well. But like you get it like these like extended family members, whereas like there's certain shots where like the bride side of the family sitting there commentating when like the bride and groom is trying to like talk, and like Tyler's like, okay, I gotta get to work, and like he's got to get to work, and she Bride's asking like what time you gonna be home. She wants to know what time he's coming back, and of course it's like, wow, I don't personally know any like Jewish people or like what they do in like with a standing family, and how like it's fair to say like considering this is Adam Sandler, this would be kind of fair, maybe of a portrayal of a typical Jewish family, especially when they're all together for like functions like a wedding. They also had these kind of cookies that I really really want to try because from what I heard they're very good. It's like these black and white cookies, and you probably would typically get it at like a Jewish run store, and I really want to try it. From what I heard, it's very very good, and you obviously got, from what I understand, you gotta eat it, like where it's like like where the line is between like the that puts the like vanilla and chocolate. Obviously, it's vanilla and chocolate, but you got to eat it both. The flavors at the same time. Kind of thing. That's how you typically would eat it. But I'm very interested in like trying that out one day. It's one of those kind of things that you see on TV and stuff like that, but you never get a chance to. You looking forward to trying it out. That's why when I went to like Cancun years ago, it's like I want to try all these kind of Mexican dishes, because like you're in a country, you want to try their cuisines and not the same typical thing that you can try anytime when you're home in your own home country. Anywho, uh, uh, Kenny is like, beside himself. He's like doing like the bulk of the work, mostly because he's trying to, as you see at the end of the film, where he's breaking down to his daughter, where it's like he's doing everything because it's like he's always been there for his kids, and he always handled things, but it's like he wants to make sure that if since his daughter's getting married, and he's doing that tradition where like he's walking his daughter down the aisle and pretty much handing her off to the man of her life that would make sure she's taken care of from that step moving forward. He want to make sure that this is going to be if this is going to be the last time that, well, it's obviously not going to be the last time. He's going to make sure he's helping his daughter, but it's just like he's not going to be the only man in her life anymore, but he's going to make sure that this going to be like a big deal, and she's going to make sure that her wedding is going to be fantastic. But he's only on like a contractor's budget, so he's trying to make sure like, oh, like this hotel his company is working on, like it's a two diamond. He really throws in people's face, oh, it's a two diamond, like it's 5-star restaurant kind of attitude, but it's not very impressive. But he wants to like make sure, like, because the son-in-law's family is, I'm not sure what like the his mother does, but Kirby's obviously like a famous heart surgeon, and like, but the daughter wants to be the Kenny's daughter is obviously like a dentist. And there's like a thing going on where it's like because the son obviously wants to be like uh, I think like a doctor too. So there's a little instead of like bouquet of flowers, they got like a bouquet of like a stethoscope and all this other doctoral crap, and like another bouquet of like toothbrushes and dental crap. So it's like these two obviously going to be like a very well off individuals, and Kenny, doesn't want. He wants to make sure that he's trying to carry on like he's like a big shot and everything. He wants to make sure he's for some reason trying to impress. That's what I'm saying. Like these two families never met each other before. Like he's trying so hard to impress a guy he should have known, like got to meet and like vibe with. But it's like it's just like it's weird. Like you're impressing a guy that I mean, this is probably his arc here, but it's just like you're pressing a guy you probably should have gotten to know and fill out before it got to this point. That's why I'm so confused on where is like these guys' relationship is, because like this is like stuff that long should have been like gotten past. You're like meeting you're meeting these people for the first time. Sure, you want to leave an impression, but I'm pretty sure the son should have told his side of the family what the Lustig, like Mr. Lustig does for a living. He's a contractor and whatnot. but uh but you're carrying on like, oh, this is kind of like a meetup that you should have done several months prior. It's like, yeah, like when, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The timeline is confusing of like where these couples relationship is. But anyway, like I said, Lustig is doing all the runarounds, and it's like, thankfully he's getting help. Unlike Steve Martin, who seems like, he's the one filling the bill and he's doing, God it knows everything. And while like the mother and daughter is like, picking things out without considering the fucking prices and like how much that's gonna weigh on his salary, or at least his wallet, I should say. Uh, but thankfully, you got like the families helping, like with like putting names on like paperwork where it's gonna be sitting at the certain assigned seats. They're helping out. You see them driving certain people around, sure, and like helping with the organization. So thankfully, Kenny's not doing the bulk of the work, even though he's like probably doing at least 10% more than everybody else, more than to be frank. Well, I was about to turn the ring. I forgot don't have the ring light on, but luckily it's daytime, so it's like whatever. Anyway, so like Kenny's picking up his great uncle Seymour, who's like was there in the army of during WW2, but he wasn't there during the battlefield, because you see him, he has no legs, and that was from the diabetes, not during battle. But it's like sort of a funny moment where like Kenny has people lead to believe that it was during battle. He never outright lie. He just didn't correct anybody. But he's getting people like home, and then you mean like there's other extended family. I think the sister of Kenny's wife and her husband and their son, who they got two sons. One's a little kid who's good at like being like a DJ and whatnot, even though he's like talking about like, I don't want to DJ, even though he DJs anyway with a smile on his face, like he's happy to do it anyway. Kids are finicky. But then you got like this teenager one, a little older, and seems like he got like, not to sound crass, but he looked like those typical like potential shooters, because he's like got like obviously got some issues, and she's very like calm and talking about, yeah, he doesn't like certain things because they're a trigger for him. She's printing out like a long list of issues that that are trigger warnings for him. Like, remember, no loud laughing. That's a trigger for him. And like, sure, you want to, with kids like this, you want to make sure that you accommodate well to make sure that he's doing fine. But at the end of the movie, he's like, dancing at the reception, even though loud noises trigger him. But it's like, I think it's just those kind of parents is, good on them to make sure they're keeping an eye on things and make sure their son is doing well and nothing's like affecting him negatively. But also, have to maybe sure like check with him and see what's test certain things to make sure what's he can handle, like, because I guess music isn't going to be an issue for him because he's like just cutting loose, and that's probably what he probably need, like some kind of I'm not a doctor or anything like that or psychologist, but obviously he needs like some kind of like interaction with people who like his family here, and it's like, and people having a good time, and he just want to be part of the doesn't want to seem like he's like like a fragile little thing. He just wants to feel like he's a part of everything. Then you got like Kirby's side of the family, and obviously it kind of carry on like those country black families as like you know kind of weird. I don't want to say weird like but just like you know those type of cousins. Just like it's like you love them, but like wow, it's like you just like you want limited kind of interaction, not limited interaction, but it's just like yeah, it's kind of like Clark Griswold and like his cousin Eddie kind of situation, but it's like a handful of cousin Eddies. You know what I mean? One in particular, who's like wearing glasses and everything like that. It's like while the bride and groom's trying to have like a private conversation in the hallway, and he's coming into the doorway, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see anything. There's nothing to see, cousin. Oh, it must be that new love shit. What the fuck are you talking about? It's like you never seen two people kiss in a hallway, and it's like you're not, and she's not in like you expect them to be having sex in the middle of the hallway. What the hell is wrong with you? It's like one of those things. It's like why are you acting so weird? But I guess it's like it's supposed to be played for laughs, but it's not funny. It just comes across as awkward. Not as awkward. I mean, like I like to say like there's certain things like the typical Adam Sandler stuff that people usually frown upon. Typically, because Adam Sandler helped write this, so they're eking through here and there. But thankfully, it's not like splattered across where it's kind of obvious. Like there's like because Adam Sandler like to play himself in certain other roles. It's like a old video of him playing the great grandma, leaving like a video for her great granddaughters for a potential wedding. She probably guesses she won't probably be around enough, and it's Adam Sandler just playing like that and doing the nasally kind of vocal tones that he's known for. So there is like moments like that, but it's so small, so it's like you don't have to let it linger. But then Kirby, who unlike Kenny, he's barely seemed like he barely knows his own kids, because like he mentions like in the end of the film, was like I wish I had know my kids better, at least dedicate my time more for my kids, because like I'm a young black doctor in LA, so of course, and I think this kind of like personally I think it's kind of like a play at least some kind of I forgot the word, at least running parallels to what's going on, at least at that time, with Chris Rock's personal life. If you watch not his last special, or maybe like a special before that, I forget, because I'm pretty sure, yeah, because after the whole Chris Rock slap, I just want to make sure I put that out, because he does some specials, or at least some comedy things like in the past few months after the events of the Oscar slap. But I think before that, before that is when like he did like this big Netflix special, and he's talking about like a period in time when he's like divorced when his wife, or cheating situation, what have you. He goes in full detail in like that special, but personally I think there's kind of like a play to that, where it's like he doesn't know his daughter. He has a daughter and a son, and like his daughter, who assumed is like a lesbian, but he's not a lesbian. She's very vegetarian, and somehow he's confusing the two. And it's showing like he doesn't really know his kids, and he feels like he's missed that part of their life, because he's spent most of his time chasing ass, and like being a doctor, and like he hasn't really like invested the kind of time that he needs. And like the mother-in-law, his ex-mother-in-law, is giving him a hard time. Like, I value family, and he, I love it when Chris Rock, knows how to like, give certain jabs at people. Like he gets like their quick comebacks sometimes. It's like, saying doctor who found that tumor in your breast. like, uh, like, uh, and then the ex mother-in-law, you know, it's like like beat it, dunked on it, moving on. Uh, but then of course, like I said, like Kenny's trying to be like a big shot, at least like trying to impress everybody, but also at the same time trying to he's doing everything on the budget, but making it seem like it's like always a big deal. Like the hotel, his contracting company is working on, it's like the whole Two Diamond. It's a Two Diamond, and he's trying to get this fancy room or trying to play as is like super fancy, trying to like getting one of old chandelier affairs, trying to hook it up in like the room, calling it like the executive suite, and like and this I'm pretty sure it's the hotel manager, this Indian man who's like always giggling, and I think that's it's kind of funny because it's just like he's leaning into it. It's like, yes, he's like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck this guy keep laughing about? He's giggling, and it's like even though things are going to shit, every which way in this hotel, like he hasn't installed certain things. Things are leaking because he didn't do anything like months prior. Like Kenny always suggested. It's like fully squishy, yeah, and that made you giggle more, yeah. And it's like it's funny because it's not funny, but it's funny. And it's like just make me laugh at the absurdness of this guy's laughing, and it makes you smile every time he just giggles, just like for no reason. He has no reason to giggle, but he's giggling, and it's like my God. But he's hooking up, because these those fancy hotels. Oh yeah, it's like the governor's suite or the presidential suite. He got like he put in like a plaque on the front of the door where Curry's supposed to be at, and it says like Thomas Jefferson suite. Like Chris Rock's face, like what the, and like you got this, you look like this picture of clearly like a female Adam Sandler who's supposed to be like it's kind of like one of those gonna play at like the Queen of England kind of kind of outfits, but it's like look like your mother. I don't know that woman, but I take that as a compliment, man. It's like there's you'll get a few chuckles out of this, but while the families are coming together, and initially Kenny is trying to make sure that okay, Curry's family is taken care of by getting them like room and board in this hotel. He's his company is helping like remodel and stuff like that. But while the leaking and like things are just like not working out because it's like one of those pushy kind of like relatives because they just like don't read the room or have no problem like in not intruding, but it's just like just taking up space when it's like clearly they're not, because like what y'all do for a living where you just like you can't like afford your own, even though Kenny's trying to like impress everybody, like no, I got you, things kind of thing, but it's like they got their own money, they can, because if it was me, I'm like yeah, sure, I'm glad y'all coming, I'm paying for the reception, food, whatever, but y'all affording your own freaking a hotel stay, cause I'm not footing the bill for that. And your plane rides, you obviously paying for that shit. Unlike Destination Wedding, that's another movie I reviewed on the channel. It's like it's idiotic. At least I can understand how idiotic it is to, I won't say force, but like have like a destination. Well, a destination wedding is typically where like you're getting married in like probably maybe like a different country. Well, I guess it could be like in a different state in the same country, but it's just like you having so many people fly out for a weekend stay at like a a particular place, and it's kind of like, I don't know, because not everybody's obviously from the same state, but it's just like the travel plans and everything like that is kind of like, it's a lot. But I don't know where I was going with this, but I'm just saying, like, destination wedding can be stupid to some degree for some people, uh, and costly. But Kenny is like, it's like, I'm sorry, to the Kirby family. I'm not sure if like his uh direct family, or is it like the mother side of the family, because it's got to be half and half, at least somewhat. But uh they give him like grief, like, oh, Doctor uh got Dr. Cordes needs his own space. I was like, fuck you, dude. Like, he's a doctor. It's like you acting like he's better than everybody, but y'all don't want to give him like attitude about it. Like you wouldn't behave, same way if you were the doctor. But you know, as Kenny was suggesting, like, I can try to get you a different room or a different spot, or you can just like, board up with like my house, like, until things like, hey, like, sure, no problems. It's like, dude, it's like, I wouldn't feel comfortable, even though the person is like kindly offered. I like my own space personally, and it's like, I'll find a motel to take care of me for a weekend. I'm not, because I'd done that, I think it was around 2019 or 2018, where like I just wanted to like get away for a little bit, but not like crazy, far, but just like a weekend at like a hotel lodge, and just like, even though I still had to work, I didn't have like the uh spare time for like a weekend away, but I just wanted to like, you know, get out of the house kind of thing, and just, and it was a nice little executive suite where it's like, you're in a room jacuzzi, and like a nice little shower sauna kind of thing. It was nice, even though like it's kind of personal. Probably should have like a separate video for like Patreon, so to do like these kind of like very private kind of discussions. But I'll try to do something like that. But yeah, that's what they should have done, instead of like just, you know I don't want to say it's like country people, those kind of family is like, you just move on in. It's like, just because you offer doesn't mean like, at least offer like, no, like, I don't want to put you guys out kind of thing. Or at least have like a little back and forth. It's like a little dance you do, where it's like, if they insist, okay, you can, feel inclined to take up the offer. But it's like, you just like, oh, he just said, let's do this. Like I get free room and board. Like, it's like, you don't know these people. And it's like, you eat up all their food and you crowding around them. And it's like, you bring in your loud ass dog that doesn't know how to shut up. And it's like, clearly the dog is barking at, the Ludwig's little tiny dog, Pinky Toe. And it's like, dude, get your dog outside. It's causing, and dog is barking all hours of the night. And it's like, you do not know how to read the room. And it's like, I do not know, because I don't have family or even like extended family that I know that act like this. But I'm pretty sure there's family that has extended family, or if you don't know, you probably are that kind of family member that doesn't know how to read the room or be considerate of other people's like space or situation. That part is like bugged the crap out of me. Certain members of Tyler's side of the family seems so bizarre. But anywho, there's like, things are going wrong. Kenny is like, getting flustered because trying to like set up everything, and like, like the things like going to shit, and he's trying to, like I said, doing everything on a budget. He's like, uh, you get Steve Buscemi, I think a cousin of his, who, uh, 'cause Steve Buscemi always like playing like kind of creepy kind of guys, and not vile, but it's like he's watching like uh 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 a scene from Game of Thrones where like Peter Dinklage's character, one of the Lannisters, is likes prostitutes, and she's licking his finger. A prostitute's licking his finger, and he's pausing it. Obviously, he's about to masturbate, but it's like, he's like not coming in. He's pretending like he's still at work because he wanted like house to himself and just like, you know, just doing whatever, and clearly BSing, because he's the one in Florida watching the great uncle, and he's sending him off on a plane ride without informing Kenny about like the because for all Kenny knew, the uncle had one leg, but he has no legs, and he does not have no nurse to look after him. So now he have to look after the great uncle. Make sure everybody's taken care of, make sure the daughter's happy, make sure like everything is like taken care of, and he's make sure plugging holes in all this like leakage is happening metaphorically, and he's trying to plug every hole. And I think it's kind of like the whole leaky roof in the hotel is kind of like a metaphor in a way in my mind. It's like things are like falling apart, and he's trying to plug in everything like with all his fingers and toes, and it's still more leaks are happening, and he's not coming unglued like Clark Griswold at the end of Christmas Vacation, but it's like he's obviously it's like stressing, but he thinks it's like despite Kirby and everybody else suggesting that Kirby has the money, he can afford taking care of everything, and it's like no, it's my clearly like he's trying to be nice about it, but clearly he wants to be able to handle this without somebody else doing it, because it's his last thing he feel like he can do for his daughter, and he's always taking care of everything, and he's like cannot at the last home stretch of it all have somebody else swoop in to save the day, and he doesn't want that to happen. So he's fighting against that. He's fighting against the tide against that. So in the meantime, it's people are going to get the tux fitting and everything like that, and people are just assuming that Uncle Seymour is like a war vet and has got his legs blew off during battle and stuff like that. So they Kenny's just allowing the full treatment, like the mayor's getting involved, and it's like using the mayor to like pay for like a good reception area, so like Kenny can save face a bit. Then like dealing making a deal with like Seymour, like you play along and you could come to the bachelor party, which is a little like family fun zone but for adults, where you get all these like strippers like bouncing on top of like bungee not bungee cords, but like trampolines and like foam kind of like ball pits but with foam. But Seymour has a stroke, take him to the hospital, he passes away. At least I'm pretty sure he passed away happy, he's like in a ball pit with strippers. But because he died, people like found out about like at least the mayor found out about like, oh, you misled me. You didn't lose legs for combat. He lost it from diabetes. So it's like he cancels the dinner that he promised at the city hall. But now it's kind of like payback. Steve Buscemi's character, he suggested, okay, we collect the bunch of bets in the underpass, and we just to make sure, because Kenny doesn't want the rest of the family to find out that the mayor killed the wedding reception. Can't have that because he want to save face. So and this is where, like, because despite, like, Kenny and his wife's, because clearly they've been married for a very long time, so it's like a typical married. I won't say typical because I don't think, like, a lot of married people act this way, but it's still like a mix between realism and like kind of exaggeration, where it's like, you know he takes he takes his, when him and his wife are having an argument, because his wife does like very out there stuff. He, like calling people 3, 4 in the morning, asking a bunch of rando questions, even though it's important to her, like checking for salmonella, like, in certain contents, just to make sure he doesn't want, like, her family is like, to get sick or anything like that. Considerate stuff, and she just sneaks up on people just out of the blink of nowhere. It's like swoop and turn around, like there she is, kind of thing. But uh, she is like a ride or die, despite, like, them closing it, because I was mentioning, all over the place. They're having an argument, but not in front of everybody. It was considered enough, like, okay, I do not want to argue in front of kids. This is what you typically probably would want to do when you have like a full house. You go to a separate room, close the door, even though they're loud as hell. And it's like, I guess if we're doing it for so long, people just grown to ignore it. That's why I'm saying, like, these bride and groom relationship seems so in sync with each other, because, like, they're comfortable, the chemistry is right there, and it's like the groom is not bothered by the loud argument, clearly heard, despite how big the house is. It's clearly heard, despite the closed door, but he's carrying on like everybody else, like, just ignoring the obvious. So clearly they gotta been together for at least a few years, because you'll be a little, like, y'all just clearly ignoring this. It's okay, but it's like, it's, couples argue. They've been together a long time. They had disagreements, but they are a tight unit regardless. And this is where, like, she comes in, and this is like a ride or die kind of, and this is like a true ride or die kind of significant other, where it's like, he comes clean about the whole Mary nixing the dinner, and she's along with the plan of getting all these bets and putting it in the chimney of City Hall, where, like, the mayor is banging his aide, which is kind of cliche in of itself. But oh no, City Hall has an infestation. I guess we better go back to the hotel where the leak is, because it's better than being around all the bats and the bat feces. And you see this moment where the daughter's like, freaking out. It's like, like, it's like, what are we gonna do, mom? And then dad, says something. It's like, like, don't worry, like, we'll make sure we do this and blah blah blah. And then a complete 180 of emotions, like, you're the best, dad. It's like, you just freaking out on your mom just a second ago, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're the best, dad. Thank you. And like, you saying that one sentence makes me calm down very fast. And when, not to stereotype women, obviously, but it's like they're a whirlwind of emotions, and it's like, it takes a hot second for things to cool down for them, because they run hot pretty quickly depending on a situation that freaks them out, because they're emotional creatures. But she got, like, things, oh, it's solved. Let me completely feel like relaxed. So now, like, things are in full swing despite the leakage, where it's being taken care of by buckets and stuff like that. You have the reception, like, where the traditional Jewish tradition of the I forgot what the word is that quickly, but it's, like, you dance in a circle, hold hands, dance in a circle, and then like raise like the bride and groom uh, in chairs up in the air. Uh, and I'm always curious, like, what if the one of the people is like overweight? Is there like a weight limit before you can be allowed to do something like that, or you just skip it if that because you don't want to like just because it's a bunch of people, it's like, or if you double the amount of people to be able to still do the tradition, or you just skip it altogether because the one of the people might be slightly overweight. Like what is the rules are if you're Jewish and you've been to a few of these, or at least one of these, to like at least one where it's like one of the people is like slightly overweight. What are the rules? If you leave a comment below, I'd be greatly appreciated because I'm too curious of what is like. You double the amount of people or you just skip it altogether. Because obviously you gotta be considerate of the people who's doing the carrying. But you see this nice little moment where like the two dads are having a heart to heart while they're being lifted in the air, and it's like, dude, you want to have this conversation in private, but they're coming clean about each other's faults, where it's like it's kind of like comparing contrasting different choices. Two good fathers, clearly two good fathers who made vastly different choices despite their love for their families. One treats love like like I one cast the checks, make sure everybody's good, but you wasn't there when doing the important stuff. Like one of his toasts during during one of the dinner scenes where Kirby is just like, I didn't beat my kids, thankfully, but mostly because I wasn't there. So it's like, oh, good, that's like, oh, you didn't beat your kids, oh, man, give this guy like Father of the Year here, but you still wasn't there for him, man. Come on. But it's like he haven't done a toast before, but I guess he's nervous. He doesn't know what to say. Understandable, but like you going with the most awkward conversations ever. But then you have Kenny, who's like, he feels like a failure because he didn't have the money to make sure he can afford every nice thing for his family, who he feels like deserves, especially as like great kids, and like he loved like his interactions with. He has 3 kids, 2 daughters and 1 youngest son, and he's making sure like he gives equal time despite the chaoticness of this week-long preparation up until the wedding. He makes sure that his, if like the youngest children are like distressed about something, he makes sure like he gives them the attention they need, especially the youngest boy who's like not fragile, but clearly like when he's flustered, he's like he's focused. Like my kids are distressed about something, I am focused, I'm paying attention. Like what you need, I got you, don't worry, don't freak out. And it's like he's a very attentive father. He just lacks like certain, despite he's a contractor, and like I'm pretty sure he's doing pretty well for himself. He's just not as well as like a doctor by comparison. And you see that nice little interaction. It's kind of like buddy cop things, like they kind of fit despite their different experiences. And I just wish that you have like a maybe not flashbacks, but something to show like what's carrying on during the period when the daughter and the son are meeting each other and dating and all the other stuff. And it's like these guys had to meet before this whole wedding thing comes along. But then like the people carrying these guys collapse from like exhaustion and like knocks over like a barrel full of like the water, catching all the dripping leakage, and which causes a fire. And mind you, I kid you not, Kenny's sitting there hiring like a magician, this overweight magician, like a hack magician, uh, to his daughter's wedding. Talking about like a budget here. Like, I might do things on a budget for my future kid's wedding, but I would not be so cheap to afford like a wedding reception with a magician, because it's not like a 5-year-old's birthday party. I don't even think I would do that for a 5-year-old any party, uh, or any age party, because it's so hackneyed. Uh, but they kind of this moment kind of reminds me of the episode of Seinfeld. Well, clearly they got inspiration from that moment where it's like the fire is like starting, and it's like this magician is just like pushing people out of the way like George Costanza, and it's so freaking funny. That got the biggest laugh out of me. This old dude's just like running for his own life and pushing people out of the way. Like all I hear in my mind is George Costanza is like screaming fire, fire, and knocking over old people and children, and just to get out the door. It's like, God, this remind me of that. It's so funny. But that's when this nice moment, like Adam Sandler can act his ass off when he wants to, and it's like this a moment where he's breaking down to his daughter, and like he wishes he can afford to, because he comes clean about like all the stuff that's going wrong, and he's like he just wanted to make sure that I do this final thing and make sure it goes off, like to tie a nice bow around everything. I make sure like I done for you. I want to make sure that knowing that you're getting married and it's gonna be the last thing I'm doing for you, I want to make sure like you're proud of me, but I shouldn't have been making it about me. It's about my daughter. And like she tells him how much she loves him, and she always appreciated everything he's done for him. And I think I like this better than like what I've seen in Father of the Bride, when like, despite my love of Steve Martin's character in that, and like the son, but everybody else around him kind of sucks. Well, except for Martin Short, to a certain extent, because like I like Martin Short, but the character is like, but this one I like a lot of people involved in this. I like at least a little bit more than what I've seen from Father of the Bride when it comes to these like kind of wedding type of movies. Like I like the bride and groom. I like their chemistry with each other. It seems like they're equally into each other. I like the both father of the bride and the grooms. I like Kenny's wife. I like the other children. They don't seem like they in the way. They you give them enough screen time where it's not too much, and at the same time it doesn't appear like they're non-existent. I like Steve Buscemi's character. He's pretty funny in this. I like Kirby's interaction with certain members of the family more, but the children, the ex-mother-in-law, and the wife, I like his interactions with them. But like the extended family, I can have done without, because they wasn't very funny for me. But like I said, like the people that I listed off. Oh, and then the hotel manager, and to a certain extent. But the people that I listed off, those are the ones I like a lot in this. They very like a standout for me. But everybody else, I can take it or leave it. I won't say I can't take it or leave it, but it's just like, they didn't stand out for me compared to the ones that I listed. They had the rest of the reception at Kenny's place, where you have the nice little dance between the father and her daughter. She played on Billy Joel, knowing that that's his song, kind of thing. It's like this nice little moment between father and daughter, and like you see this nice moment between Kirby and his daughter, showing that despite everything, like he obviously cares for her, and like obviously it's olive branch, like, hey, I'm here. I'm like and like just showing like an effort because clearly she feels like this is not really fully explained, but obviously with their interactions so far in a few scenes, it's like he doesn't take the time to know her, but he's like putting that kind of effort because as Kenny tells him, this is like you close one chapter of the book might be closing, but a new one is opening, so you still got time to get to know your daughter, despite her age. And yeah, the movie ends with now like these guys planning like when we gonna get like the family together like this ever again. It's like maybe Thanksgiving, and I'll be all for a sequel to this, but this time Kirby setting up everything for like a family gathering in St. Lucia at his place, and see him freaking out of like things going wrong or whatever, and Kenny's trying to do everything to like help out, or see some kind of flip flop kind of thing. I wouldn't mind a sequel to this. But yeah, the week of, I mean, like, yeah, I love the dynamic between these two fathers and how they handle with family dynamics and everything like that. Despite certain critic reviews, and some people might not care for this, but I highly recommend giving this a chance. There's significant funny moments, and you see like a subdued Adam Sandler here, where it's like maybe not to the same standards to some people like Uncut Gems. Like I said, I haven't seen the movie, but from what I understand, it's like a subdued kind of role where he's not doing the kind of gimmicks. You kind of get that here as well, but the little gimmicks might show once every, it's only probably a few times, but once every several or dozen scene that go by. So it's not like splattered all across the place, because obviously that would turn you off. So I watched this a handful of times. I dug this. It's a very underrated Adam Sandler film that I encourage you, if you got Netflix, check it out. You might enjoy it. You might give it, if you keep an open mind, you will probably enjoy it. But yeah, that is my review. I will see you guys next week. I got 2 more films on the docket for the month of June, for Father's Day movie month. So 2 more, one for each week. So look forward to that. So I was, I want to leave it a surprise, so that way you guys wouldn't, be hyped for it. So yeah, look forward to 2 more reviews. I got a few stuff for the 4th of July. For like a July month, but yeah, I'm probably gonna not make it like a theme like I did for Father's Day, Mother's Day, and Christmas, and February for Black History Month / Valentine's Day. But I got something planned out for that month, something you'll probably enjoy. But in between all that, I have some other stuff to put up for you guys. So look forward to that. So, and it's pretty topical, but I'm going to leave it at that. So yeah, I'll see you guys later on this evening for some gameplay. Probably gonna give like a FF7 a break for tonight, and play a little bit of something for you guys. So look forward to that. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Have a good evening. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff to Talkative Carl. The support is greatly appreciated, and I will see you guys soon. So